everybody, I'm Jen, and this shirt is a red, white, and royal blue reference, and if you haven't read that book yet and you don't get this reference, go read that book and then come back and watch this video. It's less important. Quick reminder here at the top that this is an inclusive space where Black Lives Matter and we are anti-Asian hate. That means that it is a safe space here in the videos with me and down below in the comments. No hate speech or anything of the like will be tolerated. If there's anything that we can do to make our content more accessible or inclusive, please let me know in the comments below, or you can drop me an email. Okay, so this weekend was ICFA 42, I think. ICFA stands for International Conference for the Fantastic and the Arts. So last year, a little thing called coronavirus canceled the conference at the very last minute. The conference was canceled a week before it was supposed to happen, and it's an international conference that takes place in Orlando. This conference is really important and special to me, specifically last year's conference, which turned into this year's conference, because it was supposed to be my re-entry into my full-time career after having the kids. And obviously that didn't happen. It got delayed by a year. It was a big bummer. Also, the Association for the Fantastic and the Arts is not a huge group. And so there was a little bit of wariness about whether or not the association would even survive the cancellation of its one major annual event. So it was a lot more than just a conference getting canceled or pushed forward a year. Fast forward to, I think, the end of the summer when the call for papers usually goes out for the conference. And they announced that this year, 2021, the conference would be happening. It would be happening virtually, and that's how they were going to proceed. So everyone that submitted a paper or anything that they were going to present to last year's conference had to resubmit for this year. So I submitted my Stranger Things paper about the episode titled The Body and Gender Autonomy. I was accepted and got ready to do my presentation in a brand new digital virtual world. Considering this was the first time that ICFA was going to be completely virtual and the first time that the association was going to host an event like this, everything was sort of nebulous and deadlines kept moving forward further and further. The program went out a little bit later than expected, but that was partially because the downed energy grids in Texas affected a whole bunch of people that were submitting papers and presentations, and they wanted to accommodate that. So they moved some of the deadlines forward. Eventually, everything happened, and the people that pulled it off are magicians or superheroes or something, because it was still a 4-day event, and it went off pretty much without a hitch. A couple of Zoom rooms got closed early, or people got bumped off the server, but everything moved pretty smoothly and stayed on time. Last year, I planned to vlog the conference for the first time, and this year I intended to do the same, and I did. But as it turns out, sitting in front of a computer for 14 hours straight for 3 days in a row doesn't really make for good viewing. So we're going to do a little bit of a voiceover of me explaining the conference as you watch some of my shorter clips from the weekend. Thursday morning, I got up, I did my usual thing, and I got dressed for a conference because if I was going to ask a question or discuss things with panelists, I wanted to look professional. And then I made my children watch Riverdale with me. Somewhere around noon, there is a coffee break, and they kept that in there. So I did what any respectful white girl does on a rainy day and headed off to Starbucks to get some caffeine. Thursday was really just introductory. There were a few meetings that sort of applied to everyone. The association is introducing a BIPOC caucus, which is awesome. And they talked about how they were being very careful to make sure that everyone was not just heard, but that action was actually taken. And some of the things that they're planning to do before their next in-person conference sound really amazing. And I'll be excited to see how it eventually comes together. I had some time Thursday night, so I watched a couple of videos for presentations that I wasn't going to actually get to attend. But yeah, you can see me just kind of clicking on the links in the program ahead of time and watching the stuff that's been uploaded to Dropbox. Friday morning, same shit, different t-shirt. I got ready for the day, and I actually got dressed up in the outfit that I picked out a year ago for the conference because Friday was presentation day. I ended up making a TikTok of that, so that's on my TikTok, but I pretty much was in conference meetings all morning, and then at around noon, it was another coffee break time. So I walked over to the library. It's getting a lot nicer outside, and I picked up a book that I had put on hold a couple of weeks ago.
From the library, and now I'm headed back
And I'm gonna make myself some lunch, and then the next panel I think is at 1. Yeah. Okay, there you go, you're updated. When I got back to the house, my Erin Condren planner had arrived. There's a little unboxing. I think I'm gonna probably do a stationery haul video sometime soon because I got a lot of stuff. 5 o'clock, they do a dinner break, so I came upstairs, I fed the cats, I made dinner, and spent a little bit of time with my family, and did my presentation at 8 o'clock, which I did not have my camera on for because I got really nervous and forgot to record anything. Saturday, I went for a bit of a more casual look. Saturdays I usually do at the conference, and I kept up that tradition. I was viciously attacked by my cat, who wanted my tuna fish sandwich, as I scrolled through the program and tried to get a grip on what the rest of my day was going to look like. Saturday was jam-packed. I was in front of the computer for 13 hours, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But Saturday, I think, felt like the longest because the panels were really good, and my brain was very engaged through the whole thing, which is why at around 1 o'clock, I needed more caffeine. So that's what I did. I went and got more caffeine. By Sunday, I was completely burnt out, and I did no filming, even though I was still in front of the computer for almost 13 hours by the end of the day. And I would say that that is definitely a con of virtual conferences. When you're in the physical space, you have like sense memories tied to what you're experiencing. So like each panel, you're usually sitting in a different place, it's in a different room, you're sitting around with different people. Whereas when you're in a virtual conference, you're just sitting in one place, staring at one screen all day long, and that's all kind of jammed together. I knew Zoom fatigue was a thing. I have not experienced it before this weekend, and boy oh boy have I had my fair share. By the time the conference was over Sunday night, I went to bed halfway through one of the panels. I am so full, but like running on empty. I don't really know how to explain it. That's very familiar, that feeling of being at the end of a conference and having like new ideas and new people that you want to connect with and new things that you want to pursue, but also just needing like 5 or 6 days off. Close to the end of the conference, there was like a business meeting for people to sort of talk about how the association is going to move forward and how they're going to take all this new knowledge that they have about virtual events and move it into the future, which is a pretty fitting topic of conversation for a science fiction, fantasy, and horror group. It's interesting to see that conversation happen with people who are actually going to have to enact those changes, because there's a lot of things to take into consideration. A virtual conference, yes, would absolutely increase accessibility. It means that more people will be able to come to the con from around the world, which is great for an international association. Now, some of the things you lose with doing an event like that are the face-to-face networking moments, all of the sort of friendships and relationships that are formed in a physical space like that really just don't happen, even if you can go from the Zoom room to the Discord. And obviously that's never going to happen for people that are handicapped or people that are financially unable to attend a conference like that. So already it's a privileged position that if you're complaining about losing, that's what you're complaining about losing. And you have to be aware of that. So in order to move forward, what we need to do is create spaces that are more inclusive rather than choosing one or the other. As they were discussing in the business meeting, moving a conference like this online comes up against all sorts of different challenges, like copyright challenges, putting things online in a space that's recorded and saved. It also changes how much you have to grab your audience's attention. I can tell you that after 3 or 4 presentations of sitting in front of my screen and being tempted to pick up my phone or click onto the other screen that's next to the one where I have my Zoom, it's a pretty easy temptation to fall into, which means that you have to be having a really engaging conversation with that audience in order to keep them in the chat and asking questions and keep them engaged with what it is you're talking about. So in short, I had a really good time at ICFA this year. I'm really looking forward to attending more often in the future. I do hope that they keep their Discord running throughout the year, although I know that that has its own challenges going on. I do also miss the physical space and traveling to Orlando, and it's just click something in your brain to like be in that area physically and be at that conference physically. That doesn't happen quite as effectively if you're sitting at home where you are the other 365 days of the year. What I don't miss is con cred, which you get at conventions, conferences, small cons, big cons, like no matter where. I feel like con crud may be a thing of the past. I really hope it is, because I'm really hoping that people will start wearing masks to big gatherings like that. And, you know, then we won't spread germs and things. Anyone who doesn't like believe in coronavirus or has any kind of hesitation about how quickly things can spread, send them to Comic-Con and, you know, ask them about con cred 5 days later. In conclusion, I hate coronavirus. I'm happy about all the things that have come out of this past year that have increased accessibility and made us think differently about the way that we interact with each other and the world around us. I hope that it means that people will be more careful about washing their hands and covering their mouths and taking care of themselves when they travel. I hope that it makes things like ICFA more accessible for people who can't leave their country or simply can't make it to a conference space like the one where ICFA is held, which is over the space of a hotel in Orlando. I'm really glad that it's increasing conversations about accessibility and making these types of spaces more inclusive. I hope that we hang on to that past 2021. I hope that it makes things more and instead of or, if that makes sense. And I'm really proud to be a member of the International Association of the Fantastic and the Arts. The fact that they took this opportunity to make an event that was accessible, to make an event that was still held the spirit of all of their ICFAs of the past, the fact that they recognized their weaknesses and acknowledged the fact that typically this conference is held on land that was stolen, and the fact that they talked about the attacks in Atlanta last week, they talked about forming their BIPOC caucus and how that's going to be a really important part of the association growing and moving as we go forward. Those are all things that make me really excited and happy to be a part of the association, and definitely make me want to continue my membership whether I have something to present at the conference or not. You can check out the association's website in the links below. You can also become a patron on my Patreon and get access to my complete 15-minute presentation from the conference. Again, my presentation was on Stranger Things, the body, and gender autonomy. So if any of those things are something you're interested in or want to talk to me about, you can also leave comments down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe so that you can make sure that you get access to all of the videos as they come out. And you can ring the bell that's up here, I think, I never really know, to make sure that you're notified every time there's new content. As always, stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!
Are you always this articulate?
Hercules. My name is Hercules.